The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm excited. I'm always excited. I'm excited about my guest tonight. He is Dwight Parrish. We grew up together. How you doing, Dwight?
I'm good. How are you, Vera?
I am great, and I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm going to take a few minutes and share with our audience a little bit about who you are. Dwight Parrish is a retired customer service supervisor of one of the largest electric utilities in the United States. His team was responsible for serving the needs of customers to assigned territories across Ohio. He also represented the company as a member of its Speakers Bureau platform. He retired in 2018 after 38 years of service. In addition to his professional career, Dwight has served the community in the following capacities. He was president of the Stark State College Foundation Board of Directors, founding board member of the Northeast Ohio chapter of the American Association of Blacks in Energy, Eric Snow YMCA Advisory Board, financial literacy volunteer for Junior Achievement of East Central Ohio Incorporated, and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Canton. He has earned the following recognition: Stark State College Alumni Hall of Fame, Volunteer of the Year, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Volunteer of the Year, Canton Area YMCA. Dwight has always had a passion for writing. Following retirement, he completed a creative writing course at Malone University and joined the Massillon Public Library Adult Writers Group. In June of 2023, he published his first poetry book, Sketches of Me, an unfinished poem. The book debuted as #1 new release on Amazon.com and made the bestsellers list. In November of 2023, he signed a publishing contract to contribute 5 poems for the Massillon Public Library Adult Writers Group Poetry Anthology, Writing Is. This book also debuted #1 new release on Amazon.com. Dwight earned an associate degree in banking and finance from Stark State College, a bachelor's degree in finance from Walsh University, and a master's degree in business administration from Malone University. He enjoys writing, hanging out at the beach, listening to music. Dwight and his wife Cindy live in Northeast Ohio. They have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 1 great grandson. Whoa, you've been busy.
Not me.
You've been busy. Well, listen, I'm going to give you the floor and allow you to share a little bit more. I know I shared quite a bit about you, but just kind of share your journey and how you've come to this point. But before you do, we do have a comment from Tammy Lee Williams. She says, so proud of you, Uncle Dwight. Yes. Well, thank you,
Thank you,
Tammy, for
Tammy.
listening. And now I'm going to give you the floor and let you just kind of share a little bit more about your journey.
Okay, thank you. First of all, Vera, thank you for having me on your show. It's been a minute since we've seen each other. but I'm grateful to have this opportunity to be here. And my story, I guess, just starting from the beginning, I was raised in the church. My father was a minister, and my mother was an evangelist, and she was also a gospel recording artist. And she had back in the day, they had a television program here in Canton. It was Channel 17 at the time. And they had a weekly half-hour gospel singing and ministering program. So that's where I got my start. And so they brought me in and taught me about faith and going to church. And, back then, I mean, church on Sunday was 3 times a day.
Yes.
So, we'd get out of church in the morning and I'd go and try to get lost, before the afternoon program, but, it never worked. And so I was always brought back in, and then we had evening program. So it was a long day. And also back at that time, my mother and your mother, who had a radio program, there used to be a lot of singers that they would bring in, Shirley Caesar, a lot of singers on that circuit that they traveled. But a funny thing is, back when I was younger, before I entered high school anyway, I used to play the drums. And so I loved playing the drums, playing around locally, friends' garage, talent shows, church. But there came a point when I was probably about 10 or 12, and they asked me to be the drummer for the group. And that probably lasted about a month.
Why?
When you're rehearsing, it's from my standpoint, once I get in the groove, I'm ready to go. But when you're rehearsing, it's starting and stopping, and that sort of thing. And I just told them I couldn't do it. I was just impatient at the age of 10. But they still anyway listed me on their album as part of it. But so that was nice. But raised in the church, so I've always had that faith. And then after graduating from high school, I started working at an electric utility company. And that happened. That was a weird scenario. I had a friend who told me that the utility was hiring. And so he told me all I had to do was go down there and put in an application because he was working there. So a couple of days later, I made an appointment. I went down, put out an application, and they hired me on the spot. Come to find out, I went to the wrong utility company. That wasn't the one he was working at.
Oh, my goodness.
38 years later, but anyway, on my job, I had the great opportunity to be out in public. My job was public relations out in the community with any need that they had concerning electricity. But a major part of my job was speaking. And so I began to really like going out and speaking in front of audiences. And, it started out with something like junior achievement. They asked me to get involved in junior achievement, where I went into, actually it was McKinley High Schools and several of the other high schools in Stark County. And I went in and taught financial literacy. And then, I became a public speaker for the company. So anytime communities, wanted to set up an event or something of that nature to discuss issues with electricity or around electricity or policies or rates or anything like that, I would be the one to go out. So all of this would happen during my regular work hours. So I had an opportunity to join several boards, as a representative of AEP. And that's where I really began to, I would say, blossom as a speaker. And most of my audiences on the boards that you mentioned and in the schools, most of my audiences were younger people. So, I love to mentor. That's my passion there. But to make a long story short, back in 2017, I had a stroke.
Mm.
And what the stroke did was it uh, played havoc with my balance and my speech. So it became an issue trying to speak. In other words, I would know the words I wanted to say, or I would know what I wanted to talk about, but I would have trouble finding and communicating those words. And at that time, I was, as they say, I was living the dream. That was where I was at doing public speaking. And then once the stroke occurred, I became depressed, decided to retire from my job because the doctor that I had did not want me to return to corporate management. And I didn't want to backtrack. So I figured I had 38 years, financially, I was in a pretty good place. So I just decided, I don't want to leave my position and take on another role. So I decided to retire. And that was really tough. That's where I ended up falling back into writing. I would write periodically, and my wife would always say, "Why don't you write a book?" But I never had an interest in doing a book. But once I retired and my trouble with speaking, I used writing as my voice. So that's how I fell back into writing. So it really took effect during COVID. I'm not working. I didn't have anything to do. I was frustrated. And so writing was a way for me to release my thoughts and get them out there and actually, get a good clue on what my thoughts were to analyze them, so to speak. So that's how I ended up really focusing on writing. But as I said, speaking was my main passion. And now I'm starting to get the voice back and starting to get, the language back. And actually, I had the opportunity to give the graduation speech, the commencement speech for Stark State College back in 2017. And I had my stroke. Now, I had my stroke a week before I was to do the speech. And so during the MRI in the hospital, I'm sort of rushing the doctors. I had been planning this speech because my 5-year goal had been to approach an audience of 250 in this organization that I was involved in called Men of Honor. And it brought in 200 minority male students from Stark County schools. And we would have a conference every year, and I would sit on the panel, or I would be a leader, a facilitator in the breakout group. But I wanted to be the main speaker. They always brought someone in to be the main speaker. And so my 5-year goal was to be that main speaker, to address this group of 200 people. And then I get a phone call from Stark State at the end of that 5 years asking me if I wanted to do the commencement speech where there were going to be about 3,400 people. So, but during the MRI, which was about 15 minutes, I don't like enclosed spaces. So during those 15 minutes, that's how long my speech was. So I never opened my eyes, when I went into the machine or coming out, but I practiced the speech during the MRI. But I came out of the Sunday after prayer. I ended up on the speech, and every word came out clear.
Which is a testament to prayer.
Absolutely.
That's how powerful prayer is. And I want to acknowledge our audience. Kathy, she says, congratulations and continued success to you. And then Jim and Pam Armstrong, they say you are a blessing to many and an inspiration to all.
Jim was my boss when I was working.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for being here and listening to this broadcast. That is awesome. And again, the testament of prayer. People don't understand how
Oh
powerful
yes.
prayer is. And here you are, just coming out of a stroke, and the MRI on that Friday, and then you're speaking that Sunday. That was nothing but God. That was
Nothing.
nothing but God. That is just
That's right.
amazing.
And
Absolutely
and
amazing.
as you talked about, you know, now immediately after the speech, and when I say immediately, I'm talking about like the following week, I could not order a sandwich at McDonald's.
What?
I could not get French fry out of my mouth. I could not say it. And
Oh,
so I was speaking clearly for just that day. You
wow.
know, it was just that day. And then I struggled, you
Wow.
know, had speech therapy and that sort of thing, and you know, just still
Oh
trying
my.
to feel my way back.
Oh my. And then how
Yes.
long ago was that? That was in 2017?
2017, so 6 years ago.
Oh my.
Yes.
Did they say what caused the stroke?
No, they didn't say. And I guess I want to put a little plug in for men going to get checked out, get their health checked. Because actually, uh, I went 2 weeks knowing something was wrong. My speech was slurred. You know, on my job, when I would answer the phone, my speech would be slurred. My balance, I would actually have to think about putting my left foot forward, then my right foot when I walked down the street. But I waited 2 weeks. I waited 2 weeks until I finally went to the emergency room. And you know, if you go within a few hours, you know, they can reverse the effects. But once I had went in, you know, the blood clot had, you know, damaged that section of my brain, you know, that's irreversible. So, you know,
So they
definitely.
say, but
So
look
they
at you
say,
now.
look at me. Yes. So it's been quite the journey. It's funny because one of my granddaughters, she's 16, she's a junior in high school, and she's sort of my co-partner in crime. She actually has a poem in my book, and we were talking day before yesterday, and we were talking about career goals and what she wanted to do because she's involved in a little bit of everything. And so, you know, I started talking about, you know, finding a career that you love,
Yeah.
and don't depend on money to be the biggest motivator, because it's not. You know,
And
find a career that you enjoy, and as they say, you'll never work a day in your life. Uh,
absolutely.
so I was talking
Absolutely.
to her, and I was saying, you know, boy, you know, I loved what I did. You know, I probably wouldn't have been writing poetry. I said, but you know, I wish I would have started writing earlier. And she said, well, you know what, Poppy? And I said, what's that? She said, well, after your journey, the poetry you write now would not have been the same poetry you would have written prior to your stroke. And so I
Absolutely.
I looked at her and like, really? Okay.
Out of the mouths of
Out
babes.
of the
Oh
mouths of
my.
babes. Yes, yes.
And what you said about if you follow your passion, your purpose, and your dreams, you'll never work a day in your life. That reminds me of a quote by James Mishner, and he says, the master in the art of living draws no distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education or his recreation, his love or his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever it is he's doing and leaves it to others to determine whether he's working or playing. To
Mm-hmm.
himself, he's always doing both. So when you find your purpose and your passion, then it's no longer work,
It's no
it's
longer
your
work.
purpose and your passion.
Exactly.
So that's
Yes.
amazing. And
Yes.
see how God has just brought you through some difficulties. And the point that you made, men, not only men, but women as well, don't be so hesitant to go to the doctor. I'm hearing, okay, I'm hearing feedback here.
Are you okay?
Don't be so. Ooh. You hear it?
Yeah, I hear it.
I don't know where. Okay. I'm going to pause myself and, well, better yet, let's go to a commercial and figure out what this issue is.
Okay.
So let
Okay.
me go to a commercial.
Let me introduce you to ChatBridge. It's a revolutionary new solution for getting great results from your online networking. Today, online networking has become the standard for millions of professionals. However, getting results from your meetings can be a daunting task. But now that challenge has been solved. Everyone knows how hard virtual meeting follow-up is. You go to an online meeting where at the end, people say save the chat to follow up. And now you have a nearly unusable and ugly chat text file to work with. You can now say goodbye to the hassles of downloaded Zoom-type chat records. For the first time, with the introduction of this new ChatBridge tool, you have a simple system to easily import, search, review, follow up, and find opportunities with the people you meet in all of your virtual networking meetings. And we also made it easy to archive all of your chat files and information on the people you met networking for future use. And it doesn't stop there. With ChatBridge, when you select people to follow up with, you can view their exact posts and even click into their website, LinkedIn profile, or Facebook page if they shared it. Then you can import your selected contacts into the powerful EngagePro system or export your contacts to your CRM, email tool, or autoresponder. Following up and getting great results from online networking is now easy and just a click away. Experience the power of the new ChatBridge, and you'll quickly see how to find new clients, get more referrals, speaking opportunities, and JV partners. There's nothing like it. Find out now how economical and easy it is to get the results you want from online networking at chatbridgeconnect.com.
ChatBridge Connect. Let me tell you, this is amazing. If you go to networking meetings on Zoom, and in most cases, we're saving the chat and it ends up in a file and a lot of gibberish. Well, with ChatBridge, you can actually organize your chats, totally organized. So what I have put in the comments is a link for you to do a free test run of ChatBridge. It is amazing. So check it out. If you do a lot of Zoom meetings and you're saving the chat, the next one, or even one that you may have saved already, try this. Again, this is a free test run of ChatBridge. Now, we also have a couple more comments that came in. Lynette, she says, hi, cuz, I'm happy to join the session. And I guess that squeakiness has stopped. Yay! I'm glad it
Okay.
did.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm
Hey,
glad we went
cousin.
on. And then everyone was commenting on it sound like a squeaky toy. Well, thank God it's over now.
It was a squeaky toy.
Was it?
It was my puppy that came down. Yes.
Okay. I wonder what it was. It's like, oh
That's
my
what it
goodness.
was.
Okay, now we know. Now
Now
we're
we know.
back on track. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up your book again, and then I'm going to give you opportunity to kind of share. And actually, if you want to share the poem that your granddaughter wrote, that would be great as well.
Okay.
Or so, and let's talk about this cover
Okay.
because I find it very interesting. Sketches of Me, an unfinished poem. And then you have faith across your mouth. So please explain this book cover.
Well, the title of the book, Sketches of Me, is, I call it a poetic memoir, the book itself, because my goal is to actually write a memoir, but this one happened to be through poetry. And the title Sketches of Me was me trying to get across, these are bits and pieces of my journey, of my life. And the subtitle, An Unfinished Poem, is basically saying that we're always evolving, just like a poem, So the poems in my book, even though I've written them and published them in a book, there'll be a time where I go back and still edit them, to try to get them even more succinct than what they are. So Sketches of Me, An Unfinished Poem means this is a part of my life story and how I evolved, or how we all are evolving, over time. And the design or the sketch itself, that came about, the marketing rep for the library, who was actually our writing instructor and now has a publishing company, which I'm a part of. But she actually did the sketch based on my photo, because at first I didn't like the sketch. But as far as the mouth is concerned, she said she was really good with drawing the sketch based on my picture on the back of the book, but she was not good at drawing mouths. So she didn't know what to do. And I told her to put that yellow strip across there to block the mouth, and to put the foundation of the book, Faith, over the mouth, where the mouth would go. But that was only set up initially because she was not able to draw the mouth as she would like to see it drawn.
Well, I think having faith across your mouth is very representative of your life.
Yes, it is.
And walking by faith and not by sight.
Yes.
So we're ready to hear some of your work.
Okay. The poem you mentioned, the way I write, I guess, let me say this. The target market for my book, I want my book to appeal to those who really enjoy poetry. But the target market was those who don't typically read poetry. Poetry can be very difficult to understand, and you can get frustrated with it because it's abstract. It's, using a lot of metaphors and similes. And so I try to write it in a way sort of like the spoken word, where you understand what they're talking about. Because when you start reading poetry with all the different traditional forms, like sonnets and that sort of thing, then you get caught up in trying to understand what the meaning is. And so I wanted the words to evoke some kind of emotion. Whether you don't like it, whether it makes you feel happy, whether it brings back memories, but I wanted to appeal to an audience who typically don't read poetry, and to get them to enjoy poetry, to see how it can move you, one way or the other. And so the style of poetry that I write is either traditional rhymes or what they call free verse, where there are no rules. And poetry, you're trying to tell a story in as few words as you can. And also you want to, how do I want to say that? You want to make the familiar unfamiliar. In other words, if you're talking about, say, love, you don't want to talk about it in the general sense. You want to use metaphors to bring in to help describe what you're talking about. If you're talking about somebody running, you don't want to say he ran. You want to just describe it. His chest was going in and out. His legs were pumping. His arms were moving. So when I use free verse, there are no rules. You just present a story and use the words to make the impact.
Awesome.
So in this book is traditional rhyming poems, what I call Hallmark poems, and free verse. So the one that my granddaughter wrote is free verse, and she comes over a lot and we talk a lot. And our journey as far as discussions began when she was like 6 years old, in terms of us sitting down having long conversations, because I asked her one day, what did she want to do that summer? I was asking all my grandkids where they wanted to go. You want to go to the beach? Do you want to go to an amusement park? What do you want to do? And she said, you know what, Poppy, I just want to go somewhere quiet and think. Now, this was 6 years old.
6 years
6
old.
years old.
Oh
So
my goodness.
we both like nature. We both like walks. We both like poetry. We both like music, and we love to talk. So that kind of gives you the background on this.
Now, is she your oldest granddaughter?
No, she is actually the youngest, next to the
Okay.
youngest granddaughter.
Okay.
And she wrote this poem after I had my stroke.
Okay.
Okay. So the poem is called Endless Thoughts. On behalf of my Poppy, despite all of his difficulties, I still look up to him in regards to the way he got past his difficulties. Outside, surrounded by our favorite thing, among nature, beneath the birds, beside the river, around and around we go, through the park, together with our thoughts, away from our worries, beyond our regular thought processes, from the small issues of our lives to the big issues of the world, considering the things around us, against us, along with us, till the end, thinking deep thoughts. And she was 14 when she wrote that one. Yeah,
Wow.
so but that's my
Wow.
partner in crime. When I have
Oh,
book
wow.
signings, she comes to the book signing. She does my photography. She's into photography, so she does my work there.
And she's
And
14?
she's 16 now.
Okay.
She's
Oh
16
my.
now, and she
Is
just
she,
started driving. So
is she
yes.
thinking about writing a book of poetry herself?
Well, she's written books, that she's kept around and let me read when she was probably 12, 10 or 12. Yeah,
Wow.
she creates characters and that sort of thing. She recently, this past summer, she won a state championship for a program called DECA, and
I'm
her
familiar. I
responsibility
graduated from
was
DECA.
to identify a small business in her area and go in there and identify a problem that they're having and come up with a resolution. And so she did that with the little small, I think it was a hot dog place or something like that. But she did marketing for them, photographing, put them online. And so then you have to go down to Columbus and present it to judges, and they judge your presentation. And so she was one point from going to nationals. But she did win
Wow.
the state. Yeah.
That is I
So
want her on my show.
yes.
I want her on my show.
Yes,
Carla, she
yes,
says,
yeah,
wow, amazing. I
yeah,
am
yeah,
serious. I want her on my show. And
yeah.
then Carla also says, I love the free verse.
Hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put on a little background music and let
Okay.
you play or read a couple more of your works. Okay. But
Okay.
your granddaughter sounds amazing. Okay, we have someone else that says, hey, Roni, is there a message or feeling you hope readers take away from your poetry? Okay.
There isn't a specific feeling. I just want them to feel something. Like I said, whether it's and I don't want to say pain, but I want it to evoke some sort of emotion. That's what
Absolutely.
poetry does. But I don't
Absolutely.
have a certain way I want you to feel. I want you to feel whatever you feel
I love it. I
through the
love it.
poetry.
Being a poet myself, I understand exactly what you're saying. I do want to ask you about your process before you read. Tell me about your process of writing poetry?
My process is that I don't have a process.
Okay.
And I say that because every poem that I write is what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. And so I don't sit down to write a poem. It just comes. I could be watching the news, or there could be something that happened that particular day. And a lot of the time, my wife can attest, I will wake up in the middle of the night with a thought and jot it down and then expand on it, later in the day. But none of my poems, and I always tell people, I can't sit down at my desk and say, okay, I'm going to write a poem about this tree. It just comes to me. And that's the only time I write. I mean, I write something every day, but the only time I will sit and write a poem is when I'm thinking about something.
Yes, I'm the same way.
So that's
excellent.
my
Okay,
process.
so I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get off the platform, and I'm
Okay.
going to give you an opportunity to share some more of your work.
Okay. This next poem, and it's basically, the backdrop is Skyline Terrace. And Vera, you probably remember it as Highland Park.
Mm-hmm.
And our church partners with Skyline Terrace because we're right there in the neighborhood. We're right in the middle of the apartment, which is, for those listeners who aren't aware, it's an apartment complex. And I grew up on the southeast end of Canton. And I don't want to get on my soapbox about the southeast part of Canton, but the southeast part of Canton is the only quadrant in the city of Canton that doesn't have fast food restaurants, grocery stores, pharmacies.
And let's talk about that for a minute, because growing up, that area was flourishing.
Cherry Avenue.
It had black businesses, a funeral home, a pharmacy, churches, stores. It had everything. And then they made it a model city, came in, totally wiped out the community, put a bridge, and scattered the black community.
And scattered, yes. It was the hub of the black community. As you mentioned, we didn't have to go downtown for any hotels, restaurants, barbershops, skating rinks, everything in one strip of land,
Yes.
And then when Route 30 came through and the overpass, like I said, it just disseminated the area, and it never recovered. There is one lone gas station, which the folks there in that area use as a mini grocery store, gas station now.
Right,
and they have one other small store right at the base of the hill.
Right.
And so, go ahead.
Also, Skyline Terrace used to be called Highland Park, and it was, at the time that it was built for middle class African Americans.
Oh yeah. At the
time. At the time. It was,
now it's low income, but you're right, because I remember when they first built it, and my mom said, "Boy, I would love to live there." They were like condos.
Right, exactly. Now everything, I mean, I have my pet peeves about Canton, Ohio. I don't ever want to go back, but but there are people doing some wonderful things in Canton.
Absolutely.
Now, Ted Knight, he says, "Cuz there are a number of poems that reflect members of our family or experiences with those families. Can you mention any of those inspirations and why you chose them?"
Yes, when we were growing up, and Vera, your church was right in his neighborhood. He lived on Sherrick Road.
Okay.
He lived where the Southeast Community Center is.
Okay.
And next to their field was a vacant lot. And when we were young, he received a chemistry set for Christmas. And with this chemistry set, he told me that he was going to build a spaceship with a chemistry set.
Okay.
Vera, I rode my bike over there every day, looked at his plans. We were in the field next door. He's 3 years older than I am.
Uh-huh.
I looked at his plans and I waited, and especially during the summer, every morning I rode my bike over there because I was saying, you're not leaving me, when you go up in this spaceship, you know,
That's funny.
you know, and it's funny, you know, he's been an inspiration. I can recall when I was going for my master's degree, the first course I had was a statistics course.
Oh.
And I hated it. And I hated it. And I couldn't grasp some of the concepts. And I remember calling him, and he got out his books, his old books, and he explained it to me. And then I ended up getting an A in the course.
Oh, right. And statistics is hard.
And statistics is hard. So I always say in my mind, I don't know if I've ever told him, you know, but I always think, you know, you never took me to space, but you did help me reach higher limits. You know, that's my cousin Ted. Yes. But I'll read the poem he's talking about.
Okay, okay, great. I'm going to put you on by yourself, put on some music, and let you go for it.
Okay. The poem is called Just a Poet. Let me change that. I'm going to read a different one. That's not the one. Give me a second here. I thought I had it right there at my fingertips. But I included a piece of that in there. The poem is titled "A Poem About Me."
Okay.
No one has written a poem about me. I dream of flying. I steal apples from trees. Make slingshots out of coat hangers. Knock on strangers' doors and run to the back of my mind, wondering how come. A promised trip to the moon from my grandmother's granddaughter's son, who planned to build a spaceship with the chemistry set he got for Christmas. Ain't that poem worthy? No. So I just sit and sink, drowning in a sink full of paper plates, plastic forks, and sunken adventures, refusing to hold my breath, hoping someone sees the kid in the bubbles rising to the top and writes a poem about me before I grow up.
Love it.
But several poems in there, you know, actually a whole chapter about family. My father was blind, and he lost his eyesight due to a construction accident and cataracts. But I don't recall a time that he wasn't blind. Now, I see pictures of us together when he wasn't, but I don't recall any time. And so it was my role every day to meet my father at the bus stop. He used to work at the YMCA, and I would have to walk him to the bus stop early in the morning, maybe about 6:30, help him get on the bus. And then once he came home from work, it was like 6:15. So no matter where I was or what I was doing, I had to meet him at the bus stop to get him off. And so everywhere he went on Saturdays was bill paying day. And so I would ride on the bus with him downtown, and he knew all the judges and the merchants and the lawyers and the store owners. He knew everybody because he was blind, and they would see his white cane with the red tip. And so I went away to school. When I left junior high school, I received a scholarship to attend a prep school, Western Reserve Academy. And I went away to school where I stayed on a college campus all school year. And I came home one summer because he had bought a car for me. And when I turned 16, we didn't have a car. He was blind and my mother didn't drive. And so now that I had a car, I was the family chauffeur, of course, and I drove him everywhere he needed to go. So one day we were driving in the car, and he asked me why I decided to go this particular way. And so, I stopped the car and I said, "How do you know which way I'm going?" And he said something to the effect of, "Well, you've made 2 left turns and 3 right turns, so we ought to be at about Cherry Street about now."
Oh my
But
goodness.
that's how his senses were.
Wow.
And that was the first time after all that time, because I used to take him down to the grade school, Allen School, to vote. And I would go in the booth with him. He was very big on voting. When I turned 18, I told him I wasn't voting. That's the longest lecture I ever received from him.
I bet.
But I would go in. Back then, you had the curtain. You went behind the curtain, and he would ask me to read the candidates off, and I would read the candidates off. And so he would ask me, "Well, what do you think?" And I picked Tom Jones because I remember that name or something. And either he would agree or not agree. But he always let me be a part of the process. But I took him everywhere. And so, when we would go downtown on the bus, he would tell people, he's my eyes. And my little chest would stick out. I was so proud because I was the one taking him around. And so that day in the car, when he asked me which direction I was going, and it stunned me, that was the first time in my life that I realized he never needed me to guide him around town.
Wow.
I never thought about him being downtown. Okay, I get him on the bus, but what happens when he gets downtown? He has to cross the streets, and of course there were always people downtown that would help him and guide him. But he was just trying to teach me how to be responsible. But it just stunned me. Vera, I slammed on the brakes. How do you know? And after that, he would guide me to Michigan, wherever I needed to go, and he was with me.
Wow, that's amazing. Your dad was an amazing person. I remember your mom and your dad.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
He was my hero. I had a lot of mentors growing up, but he was the only hero I had.
Wow.
So I do have a poem that I wrote about him.
Okay.
And this one is a traditional rhyming poem.
Okay.
And it's called Perfect Vision. Ever since I can remember, my father had been blind, but never heard my dad complain, not once at any time. I'm sure he had his moments with the fact he couldn't see, but the way my father lived his life has always impressed me. He guided me when I was lost and couldn't find my way. He always seemed to understand and knew just what to say. He showed me that you don't give up, no matter what the task, and give your best at what you do, and dreams will come to pass. He led me through the obstacles and kept me reaching high. He sent me off to private school when others wondered why. He viewed the world outside his arms and talked about distractions. He taught me how to be alert and monitor my actions. He noticed when I needed help and quickly took my hand. He knew just when the time was right to let me be a man. So when I say my dad was blind, don't think something was missing. It's true he didn't see things I did, but Dad had perfect vision.
Whew.
So that was, I wrote that to him, and I gave that to him one Father's Day.
Oh,
I presented that to him. Yeah.
That is beautiful. Oh my God. You guys need to get his book, okay? You need to get his book.
Get the book.
A link. Get the book. There's a link. The link is scrolling down here, and you can find him on Facebook. You want to get his book. That is a beautiful poem, and that is a great testament to what a father is. And that's also a great testament of you as a father and a grandfather. And we got another comment coming in. Carla says he was an amazing man. I remember him from church at the Y.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And
he
I am
was.
so glad you're on my show because it reminds me of us growing up and being in
Hmm.
the church. I
Hmm.
remember when you played the drums. I remember
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and so I do have another commercial I need to play, and then we'll come back
Okay.
and finish our conversation. So let me pull this up right quick. Okay. To accomplish a task. There's no need to ask. My greatness. When I allow creativity to flow, everyone will know. That's my greatness. When I share, give of myself. To little is left. That's my greatness. What greatness? Need not compare. With anyone. Anywhere. There's no need to compete. With others I chance to meet. My greatness is unique. It makes my life complete. I just need to be myself. And do my best. And do my best. Always do my best. That greatness. My greatness. Greatness. My greatness. Will stand the test. All right. Can you imagine your child waking up during Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, their birthday, and receiving this poem, That's My Greatness, with their picture and their dreams and goals depicted? Can you imagine your child with increased confidence, increased self esteem, and the courage to stand up against the bully? Can you imagine your child feeling so grateful that you gave them such a wonderful, unique, personalized gift? Just imagine. These are special creations for Christmas, Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or birthdays, uniquely designed with your child's picture as well as the goals and dreams that they may have. If you are interested, let me know by DMing, by doing a DM on Facebook, or contacting me, or even just completing the questionnaire that I put in the chat. Again, a Christmas gift or any gift that will never be forgotten and always cherished. Again, that's my greatness. That's your greatness. Yes. Okay. All right. So, all right, I do have one more that I need to share before we continue this. So let me do that right quick. Let me find it. Okay.
Mama knows.
creates high-quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products because, you know, Mama knows what you need.
Products. These products, shampoos, conditioners, moisturizers, hair serums, and they smell so good. You want to check out Mama Knows products. And these products are for all ethnicities. So boys, girls, females, males, and all races. So you want to check out Mama Knows because Mama knows what you need. All right. Now we've got another comment coming in. Let's see what they're saying. And okay. So this is Morrison. Cherry Avenue Southeast, Golden Age of Black Business in Canton, Ohio. Yes. And Nadine McElwain actually did a book about Canton's history.
Mm-hmm.
And Charmaine just put it in the chat. So you can check out that book as well. Thank you, Charmaine, for doing that. Yes. Okay. Well, listen, we've got 2 minutes. I'm going to give you the floor and let you share final words. I want to thank our audience for participating in this conversation. And this will be an evergreen podcast that will be on every podcast platform as soon as I upload it. And I will be doing that today. So I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to and let you wrap us up. And I just want to say again, thank you, listening audience, for listening. And thank you so much for coming. Dwight, I really appreciate it. I think this was a great show.
Yes.
In my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to give you the floor. And then I'm going to also ask you to hold on because after your final words, but before you do, we're going to run over, but let me just say, please support my show, The Vera Thomas Show. You can support me and I did put the information in the comments. You can support me by going to bit.ly Vera Thomas Review so that you can review. Or if you go to bit.ly /Vera Thomas, you will be able to see all the links where you can support my show. So please, I'm going to ask you to do that. And in the meantime, I'm going to give you the floor now and let you wrap us up. And I'll put that in the information in the chat.
Okay. I'm going to close with the poem that I had mentioned earlier about Skyland Terrace. But, first, I do want to give a shout out to all my family and friends and my church family, People's Baptist Church, because this community has really, really supported my book and supported me in this journey. As you can see, the number of comments that are coming in. So I just want to say I love you guys, and I definitely appreciate the support. This last poem we mentioned about Skyland Terrace, and this is in the section dealing with race in my book, and it's called Abandoned Tracts of Land. When I look beyond these here walls, I see things that I just have to share. I grew up in a part of the city that's lacking attention and care. I don't see anywhere to buy medicine. I don't see anywhere to buy food. Yet some have the nerve to inquire, just why are those people so rude? When I look beyond these here walls, I see remnants of family and friends, but I also see faces of strangers seeking shelter from very strong winds. I see the despair of the people who struggle with life every day, but I've seen them encourage each other as they go about finding their way. When I look beyond these here walls, I see men who were stripped of their pride. I see some who display their addictions, while others prefer just to hide. I see some that I used to play ball with. I see some who have been in my home. I saw dreams that we chased as a kid disappear when we found ourselves grown. When I look beyond these here walls, I see girls who are caught in a bind when they wander in search of affection and end up with someone confined. But their beauty will always be present, and their worth to the world remains high. The failures that cause them to fall are the failures that teach them to fly. When I look beyond these here walls, I see 400 children at play. I see some unaware of the danger that lurk in the places they stay. Some have the skills to be bankers, and some will be good with their hands. But all can achieve their desires if others will just lend a hand. When I look beyond these here walls, I see one thing that's perfectly clear. It's a world that is so far away, yet a world that is so very near. There is nothing I've done on my own to escape from the view that I see. When I look beyond these here walls, I see people who look just like me.
Woo! I have to comment. That is amazing. And it depicts what has happened in our community in Canton, Ohio. And there's so much more I could say. You're going to have to come back because I want to talk about that.
Absolutely.
We definitely need to talk about this. And we have another comment before we end. And she says, thanks, great show. So happy you both can get to do what you love. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
cuz.
you so much. And please give me a review. Go to that link that I just put in there and give me a review. I would love it. Okay. Thank you again. I'm going to have you come back. And this was amazing. I want to talk about what has happened to Canton, Ohio, because it's a devastation. It's sad what has happened, but we don't have time to talk about it right now.
That's another story.
So that's a whole nother, that's an hour story by itself.
But thank you so much for inviting me on. This has been fun.
You're welcome. Thank you. And please hold on. Don't go anywhere. And again, to our listening audience, speaking of which, I do have to say this. Next, on Thursday, we have another Ohioan that's going to be here. He is a renowned, as a matter of fact, let me just play this right quick before we go, and then I'll end my show, okay? So join me on Thursday when Kevin Dorsey will be my guest. So join me. We got another comment. We just can't seem to leave. Okay. Denise says, congratulations. Thank you very much. And
Thanks, Denise.
he also says, I enjoyed the show. And Jim says, great show. Loved it. Well, continue to watch, please. All of you, continue to watch. All right. Don't let this be your last time. All right. Well, listen, thank you again. I'm looking forward to you coming back. And we will continue our conversation with Canton, Ohio. Until then, I'll see you all on Thursday. Have a great evening and a great remaining week.
The Vera and Thomas Show. 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 Let's talk about it. Let's talk